As we began our day, we had a couple of messages and more. And if you are tuning in from our audio podcast platforms, those messages and more will be shared at different dates, but you can check out on YouTube what I'm talking about if you want. And that's because of I repurposing the YouTube videos along our podcast platform for now, and that's how it's going to continue for the audio listeners. Again, you'll usually see the title. This is already on YouTube, okay? And I don't always make it my mission to announce all this stuff, but just in case, because I know we have some regular listeners that don't come to YouTube. Okay, so the full moon is on the 12th, I think, and I'm doing this now ahead of time because I won't be doing it then. And that's for a number of reasons. But in the meantime, the themes are already present, as you can tell, as I can tell, and as anybody who is a channeler and a downloader and a mystic within our 5D collective, at least that's how I'm going to tell it to you. But obviously, I can only talk for myself as an empowered feminine who has been downloading and having all of this intuitive and clear stuff in the way that Maria can tell you. It's not a hard thing. It's not an easy thing. It is a thing. But it is a thing for me that is easy because I'm a higher self. And so we talked about that. That's where self-help, personal development, spiritual growth happens when you are healed as a human being who knows the one, whether it's God or the divine or the one, which is science, dark matter, dark energy, don't matter. And when it comes to people, the one will have to be an open-hearted lover who also has a higher self. Okay, so when you hear divine counterparts, I chose to use the word, but I actively do not appreciate the objectification of relationships that I have seen, the 4D and 3D collective, and really it's also the relationship soul age group. And what I should say, it is really the insecure human being out there who consistently needs a story versus what is a relationship. So as an adolescent, for me, it wasn't hard to understand death do part, sickness and health, da 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 da. As I got older, it still wasn't hard. And so here's where polyamory is not the same as polygamy. We're not all polygamists. We're also not all masochists. And we're also all not basically cheating on anyone. It's called consensual non-monogamy. So people who are empowered ask questions, and people who are not, they get very defensive, and then they just keep using ancient textbooks. And some people are ignorant, which is why we want to be able to talk about things openly, which I know how to do. Okay, but that's the empowered individual. So when you do own who you are, that's when you're going to be able to talk about something without getting reactive, which is why you love being your true self, and you also know how to love somebody else for being their self. Okay, so that's accessing your higher potential when you have access to your whole self, and that's a higher self. So if you instead are a siren of yourself, and that's that shadow stuff, which we don't do the shadow work things. No, what I'm going to know is you're a clown because your inner child is a pause self with a need for Patrick Tiahan and Terriel, so you can learn to love yourself and get out of projecting all of that which took place to you, not me. Okay, so when things take place in our lives, they can have trauma charges. That's all of us. But the difference is when you are the owner of yourself and you don't do storytelling, yeah, it's called compassionate mind, neutral mind, inner growth mindset is what I call it, because it was really easy to say, hey, Maria, so your teenage boyfriend cheated on you. He's the coward, not the other way around. No, I didn't really say that until by the end of the relationship. I'm like, okay, definitely coward. I know what you're doing. You're cheating again. Just confess, because really, no confession. It was fine. We became friends, all of us again. But the point was when I said, wow, we're not friends. My friends, you don't want to drag her down. And why would I drag her? She has nothing to do with it. So long story short, when you love because you're not lying. Love is not to be understood. The left mode wants to understand. Love comes from the heart. And the right mode doesn't need to understand because it's a feeling. And it's actively the frequency of enlightenment when you are completely in a physiological state of self-acceptance, securely attached, non-traumatized with you. Use your human name. That way you don't get caught into ego, vanity, and spiritual bypassing. Use your human name. All the child parts are healed. That's what I know will make a person. Terriel has conditions. Dr. Daniel Siegel doesn't. Patrick Tiahan has conditions. Bezel van der Kolk doesn't. Peter Levine doesn't. Janina Fisher doesn't. Stephen Porges doesn't. Dr. Daniel Fox doesn't. Why? No conditions. Because they have discernment. Because they have wise, good judgment. Why? Because they know what equanimity, common-centered, and love means in their own bodies. Why? Because they have brain smart scientists and more. biology. They have all of that, which will let you know why muscles, bones, and tissues store trauma charges. Bethany Ruth Lanius, they also don't have conditions. They will tell you what happens with the person with DID, dissociative identity disorder. So I have no conditions. One, I'm not God. I'm a spiritual being. As a human being who loves to learn, I also have no conditions because I don't need any. Because you're not a physical threat, because my gut will tell me. And as for mental and emotional threat, you don't represent a threat. Sticks and stones may break my bones. No physical threat. Words will never harm me. Never. And when a sociologist says yes they will, no they won't, not for the ones who end up owning their child parts in the presence of their entire oversoul. And that is all of those of you who will know of what oversoul is, which is why you don't change up the names of anyone and call a twin flame a fake twin flame and then a soul counterpart and then that, all of that, which I've seen the storytellers do, which is for the 4D collective. No, you do not objectify, but the divine counterpart to, let's hone in on this message right now, because the full moon is about counterpart in the actual sense of what can complement you and expand you. That only happens if you do not have regret in your life and in your relationships, because you finally have healthy self-worth and know how to love yourself first. Okay, so great. I did a whole episode where I talked about that because I saw this therapist. After 10 years, the number one regret for people is that they ended up spending all this time with someone they didn't love. And I'm like, that's shitty. Oh wait, they had insecurity from their trauma that they didn't go heal, and they didn't apparently notice that they were talking shit in their head. And in the meantime, I'm thinking of those 11-year-olds who began to wear a mask, and I noticed it. And I told them all in their face what they were. And then I got to 15 and 16, and I still noticed it. And then I got to 19, and I noticed it with a teenage boyfriend. And then I got to 20, and I kept noticing shit. Oh, I didn't grow more bitter, which is what sounds, I'm surprised you're not more bitter. No, why would I? My faith in humanity hasn't been broken. God created us all. Those people chose fear. That's it. Cowards is what a person who doesn't heal is. I don't have a Lucifer. I got a bunch of children who need a therapist. So divine counterpart and the word divinity, the way the teenagers use it is they want to, please, let's be humble. Use your human name. Then as we consistently allow ourselves to remember sciences, come on in with spirituality. I love to bring them both. The human element. The one thing ego will always do is shine. I will see you, ego. And I will not tell anybody about you, because it's up to the owner of you, as God keeps reminding me, not to judge human suffering. And I don't really waste time with masculines because they're boring. And they're boring for real. So I learned how to handle their Cusco mask. By the time I'm done with handling it, now I know whatever their siren and shadow side is. There you go. They haven't physically hurt me. I just fit a box for them, and they're not a box. I got to meet their past self, and I know that they could definitely work with a Patrick Tian or Terry Real to get out of that stuff. But I'm not their therapist, and I don't want to be. I'm also not a therapist of anyone. I'm a mentor, content creator, podcast host for spiritual self-help and mindful personal development. And they really all go together, because anyone who's going to be here with woo-woo pseudoscience is going to enjoy also spiritual stuff, right? Okay, so part of my toolkit, definitely tarot, oracle, channel guidance. This full moon brings to you the lover of your life. That's if you are ready, with your heart open for the one, because you are healed. So when a person is healed, that means that they are a conscious lover because they are themselves. And that's what a divine counterpart is. So your oversoul, you don't put anyone to the side or not. Nobody tells you your fate or your actual what tomorrow is going to bring. Okay, so fate and karma are for the 4D collective who need to understand, because their left mode consistently chimes in. And when I say understand, it's not that they need to understand love. It's that they don't know the art of loving. They don't know that love is consistent. This is why they get confused with polyamory, and then they think you don't love anybody, or they think you're traumatized, or they think a lot of things. And people who want to explore other people's emotions don't actually understand. You don't live in my body. And then they don't like to hear the explanation of how you can anchor in your ventral vagal state, anchor in ventral energy, and I use words my way, but basically they don't like to believe that they can feel emotions deeply. I'm going to give you some stories after. So I don't care about what you feel or not, because I'm feeling Maria all the time, and really I don't have time again to waste my breath on those who don't know the social construction of reality. Basically, when I read this, I was like, wow, so it's all made up. Cool. Okay, great. A treatise in the sociology of knowledge, Peter L. Berger and Thomas Luckman. Sociology. I'm humanities and social sciences. And when I learned about what terrorists are in my political science and my master's in international relations and diplomacy, I said, oh, so the winners decide what to write. So I'm getting taught basically one side of a coin. You're not teaching me. you do realize what bias and giving me stories is. I don't like being ignorant. And now that I keep getting told that I've been taught ignorant shit, and now I keep hearing people being ignorant around me, please get away from me, ignorant people. I will learn how to discern on my own, and the moon still exists, so does reality. Thank you so much. Unlike the rabbit hole of those who want to go down one, and there you go. So history exists, geography, biology, and people who don't believe in crystals, well, you don't know geologists, and calling it the devil's work, we know where you come from. So you obviously don't know about how to work with your personality patterns, or your attachment, or your security, or any of it, and I don't need to talk to idiots. Excuse me, you're confusing science, spirituality. I don't use my breath with people like that. I say, no, I'm not. I actually bring them together. No, because I'm a mystic too. There's that unbridled self-expression. Excuse me. Maybe I said it wrong. So let me try again. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I don't get frustrated by it. I'm used to the teenagers chiming in because a 3-year-old wants to the floor. They can't help themselves. They know the right answer. So, no, because I also do Reiki, and I have, and Buddha, I get seen Buddha, quantum physics. I say, okay, you know what? Let's do it this way. How about you tell me where you're going, because I'm pretty sure we're going to the same place anyways, and I leave it alone because I can't explain it right now. I usually speak in English, not Italian, and I'm having a conversation, which is really important right now. So what's up? And there you go. The 3-year-old's happy, the teenager's great, and I'm doing what I wanted to do, which is get back to my conversation. So the third time, I got to, with my own discernment and equanimity and love, thank you, God, be a polite human being is what I was taught. And people who don't want to do that, that's okay. They don't own their self. That's why it's pity on them. They don't learn how to put Krishna Lila into practice, which is exploring the depths of the profoundness with fun. But I'm so used to being annoyed by human beings that I had at a certain point a book. I don't have it anymore, but I have a book where it's like, you know what, you need to replace the word, because really God gave you 24 hours and you already know that your brothers and sisters matter. So, again, it's not a story you need, Maria. It's integrated brain people. Just keep on working to get friends with conscious human beings who know how to love. There you go. And so people who say, I don't, what? Why aren't you having more upset for what I'm going through? What are you going through? You just told me, both of you, that you're dealing with emotionally unavailable men. They apparently need they need therapy, and I'm really not allowed to say other stuff, but what I'm going to say is you're not in a relationship with any lovers. I mean, really, they don't even know themselves. Pause self is what they are, and so, I can do the reading for you, but I'm really not going to have much to tell you, except for it's really awesome that you want to be able to continue. No, I don't do that. I actually just say, look, the people you just described tell me very clearly. Okay, so when I, with my lovely twin flame, the first one that came around, got told something, one of my closest friends, the minute I described some things, they're like, that's off. I'm like, no, that's not off. Now, I'm a spiritual being, so that twin flame thing in the oversoul, but there are sciences who have an explanation for it. They could call it something. Limerence is the word. I wasn't addicted to my twin flame. Unlike the 4D person, there's a bunch of them who were addicted to them. Actively, I was being told about them being manipulated in dream state of things that made them then go in structural dissociation to the twin flame and actually completely give them 2 cents of their brain, which was pretty much structural dissociation. So that means somebody going in a very angry, like there's a squirrel from Cusco land. It ain't nothing else. Okay, so we got anxious, and they're now in what Terry Real's unhealthy boundaries would be is basically they're all what was it? Anxious above is, because below is manipulative and desperate. Here they are righteous and just think they're right of whatever they want to do, like the squirrel from Cusco land. So they're going to come at you, and you're now offline, they're offline, they're just yelling at you. And so unfortunately, this is what happens when people don't go to get therapy, but they say, that's my twin flame. And I say, yeah, but it doesn't make you addicted like that or manipulative. That didn't happen. I'm still not, I got 3. Yeah, you got more practice. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's not about practice. But again, I mean, hey, you're in your brain. I'm just saying this isn't how it's supposed to work. You're a princess from a special queen land, and you're beautiful and apparently strong. And so I don't understand. It's inconsistent with the powers that you have. Don't you hear your superpowers? Anything? No? Ring a bell? So no, I don't do any of this. But this is the point of what a spiritual bypasser doesn't notice is we're anointed, we're special, and they're assholes. Really? Okay, so you have an access to your higher potential. You don't even know how to love yourself or be yourself, and you don't have a divine anywhere to be seen because you don't have this access to pure divinity. You actively have access to that, which is, I'm going to say, the shadow you with the siren, which is where maladaptive patterns of behavior and maladaptive thinking and maladaptive daydreaming and actually black and white thinking and also extremes, and then continuing to think, I'm intuitive, I know what you're thinking. Okay, wow, no you don't. Get out of my space. And if this is how you're going to deal our friendship, no. Oh yeah, these are friends, by the way. I don't have counterparts that would ever have done that. No, at most it's called the rejection thing. And really, rejection, it's not protection. It's called, okay, that's fair. Everybody has a choice. And you obviously do not believe that I'm the one, which actually is not a belief. You made a choice. That's it. So you choose the one, FYI. And it's not by being a twin flame or a soulmate. No, actually, excuse me. It's by the heart. I mean, really, I thought people would figure that one out, that a lover is only a lover if they want to be one, not if you claim for them to be one. What I can tell you is that smart 5D mystics, the ones that I have recently met, yeah, it's awesome to learn about Shiva and Kali in a way that I hadn't heard before. So we won't get into that. But this lovely full moon brings to those of you who have a higher self, again, in the lead, that which is true love because you are ready, because you love yourself first. And because you want to be open-hearted and you want to be the one, and you are the one for you. So you're a self-empowered, enlightening human being who, whether with spirit or not, again, whether you believe in God, divine or not, you can bring in science, dark matter, dark energy. What you don't do is bring up your Cusco attitude because of inner child parts that are exiles or trauma charges, and then have a mask like my facade friend. Okay, so the liar, pants on fire are nothing more than their own shadow and siren. We don't need to do anything for people who refuse to go and get to heal with Patrick Chan or Terry Real. I use their names because they make it very clearly aware online for free that when people get told love yourself first, it's a shaming letdown sentence, and that they're not capable and that they're confused when they don't have their higher self, again, in the lead. So if you have higher self, you will know what it means to be a true lover. I was a teen and already knew death to you part, sickness and in health is because I say so. That's it. I say so, and you say so, and we walk and talk together, and that doesn't ever change. Now the other thing is, of course, things happen in life. Yes, that doesn't mean anything. And no, you're not obligated to be with somebody if they become a ball and chain. That's not love. That actively means I don't love you if I'm going to force you to be in a stagnating pool. So again, the extreme examples people provide, by the way, what I can tell you is that if a person has their whole self and they have an integrated brain and they're conscious, they will be a true lover because they won't be making choices based on a whim. It won't be reaction. It won't be regretting. It won't be any, which is why an empowered feminine can say, I don't regret any of the choices because I have never made them by being unconsciously aware of what I'm choosing, by doing something called suffering and choosing because of aloneness. So people who regret their choices, I know exactly who they are. I saw them in college as they told me that they're fucking and being miserable, and I said, you don't have to do that. As I got older, and let's see. So here's some stories. Okay, so FYI, full moon, 5D collective. Everyone's expanding, ascending. This is the gist of it, and definitely divine counterpart because you're accessing your higher self. So you're a higher potential version. It doesn't mean everything is uncharged. No, it means self-aware, accountable, regulating. So charges come up. You are emotionally, mentally, physically mastering yourself, maturing. You don't regret your life. You don't regret your relationship choices. You will have had, maybe if you come from a path where you do have regrets, you have now learned, okay, I see them, I use my human name, I don't identify with my mistakes, I know that I learned from them. I don't identify with being a spiritual bypasser or a savior complex of any type, and I don't identify with the vanity thing. And I know that all these words, yeah, so vanity, you will notice it if it's a grandiose person. Identity, you won't have one except for your human name. Because your personality patterns, you work with them. So you don't say I'm fixed in stone. No, you know that you have a personality type and you bring it forth. So you use your name, not groups. Because when you're using groups, and then you're using their labels. If it's too rigid, then you don't feel good with doing out. So identity, again, the masks, people who need to have a mask, they're still clowns, because really you use the essence of the self that you are. But again, that's for another time. I don't want to get you too lost. And last but not least, as I was saying, the spiritual bypasser, that's for people who think that we're special. There's not 144,000 special. Every person and every human being and every life form is special. Is a part of the divinity, of God, of intelligence, however you want to put it. Every one of us is a part of the cosmos, and we each play a role. Now, when people think that somebody can hurt that, just as we have laws, the laws are what stand. You go vote. That's it. There's no need for any other stories. When it comes to lower frequency, the demons people talk about, it's very clear who they are. They're not demons. People who have low self-esteem, indirect communication, passive-aggressive, are still unkind with their 0 to 8-year-old on a roll, and I don't have time for trauma time, and I don't have time for structural dissociation or your DID parts to come out of the woodwork for you to talk to me about time jumping and ignore completely that you are unhealed, and that's it. I don't have time for ignorant human beings who want to play what is. And so the laws, again, for whether you're mystic, spiritual, mindful, they keep us safe, and we go and look to do that. Again, social construct. I really didn't think I'd be seeing so many ignorant people on YouTube the way I do. I know where the smart ones are, and when I say ignorant, I mean trending topics. To the bejesus of me, I watched a docu, whatever, because I thought my colleagues knew what worthy content was. I thought so. Now I know they don't know. And now I know that anybody who's doing trending doesn't know shit about what quality content is. I want information, not trends. Trends make me think of stereotypes, which makes me think you're dumb, which makes me think you still think left and brain mode have some special traits, and you haven't gotten out of the pop culture shit, which is still online, and it will probably always be. And please, the laws are trying to regulate, and that's why people keep thinking they are getting banned left and right versus understanding what's happening, which I, as an online marketer and entrepreneur, do, and I'm not afraid of it, because I do want them to help adolescents come across good information versus bad information, and scam artists, which, by the way, I'm going to get a piece of content curated for that one, because I recently did a Dharma thing of my life, and as I got to work through it, I shared with my lovely partner. I was like, hey, I guess what happened? But I won, yay, and it was a very small thing, not a big deal, but what pissed the fuck off of me, it was the same thing that pissed me off years behind, but not the same way. That's why it's Dharma, not karma, because I recognized it. Oh, and we all do cycles. Yes. So when you're the owner of yourself as an oversoul, as who you are soul, you're not like, oh my God, I got sent something that I don't know what it is. No, we do know, which is why you don't have questions about what's happening. That's an empowered feminine. I'm not a masculine. So the empowered masculines have a different way they talk. I don't talk for the masculine. Again, please do remember, you'll know what you are. I know that I am a feminine because I'm a nurturer. I'm a pushover when it comes to all my baby cubs, and that's why empowered feminines do definitely know how to appreciate our empowered masculines, and that's because they definitely bring us the angles. Like one of my 5D mystic friends when he's maturing, remember? Okay, so there's 100 people over there, Maria. 100 of them. They all need you. What do? Ta-da! Okay, come on. I know what it means to have time for myself. So don't give me no trick question. Of course I'm going to help them. What do you think? I can't leave them there. Your body, Maria. Don't worry. I expanded my window. Welcome to energy. Even though I'm 4'9", the light body, light body, light body, light body, light body, rainbow body. You all know about this story. So when you are expanding, you know what's happening. If you are, again, an empowered feminine, not if you're not empowered. And that means you have an integrated brain and you're a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person who loves to love, live, laugh, learn, expand, and create resiliency without saying, I'm creating resiliency. That means I feel deep emotions and thoughts. I'm trying to help you understand. That's so that, you don't have to be an empowered feminine. You can just be something else that will have different words. Okay, so divine counterpart and or counterparts. This is the beauty of integrated brains, is that divinity Sadhguru shares, when you overflow in your humanity, divinity descends. I'm going to say it's not that you have to consider it the God thing, because that's actually something I'm uncomfortable with, because I know that it brings up a lot of different misunderstandings. I do like Dr. Daniel Siegel's acronym, God, which is generator of diversity. As he explains, when you're fully integrated, like my brain, And therefore you have self-awareness, accountability, regulation, and mastery. So you bring yourself always the forefront. I'll use an example. I am having a lovely interaction with one of my Oversoul members. You know this story. I made a lovely bunch of episodes of it, and they and I are having fun, giggling and laughing. I say a word to them which causes their effective rejection thing to come out, and now I got basically a dog yelling at me all of a sudden, from happy smiling to being completely, I don't know what happened to you, how dare you insult my integrity, and I'm being yelled at. And in the meantime, though, the first words that come out of their mouth, all of my stuff from a whole other situation, images, and say all of it comes up. But because of my lovely panic attacks, which are not so lovely, but I have plenty of practice self-regulating, I was like, okay, you can't come up right now because I can't get into the fetal position and cry, and I don't really want this person to know any of this shit because it's none of their business, and really I can't because physically I'm in a situation that can't happen. They're so easy to handle, by the way, compared to pure fear. Pure fear felt like I was going to die. Crying, I'm cool with that. I'm like, it's okay. So I recalibrated, and in that moment, the download was, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, proud of what? This is my body. I'm doing something normal. Don't be proud. So this is where humility comes in. It's their human makeup. Smart neuroscientists will tell you the flow state, it's actively something you can achieve. I will let you know it is a process, though. Okay, so with that being said, as long as you have, at the very bare minimum, access to your healthy self-worth, higher self, you're a happy person who has the very bare minimum, love, life, laughter, and the most important thing is you know what a counterpart is, what an empowered person and another empowered person do. So with mental, emotion, physical mastery, there's no projection, which is why there's no reason to bring forth something that has nothing to do with a person who is being reactive because of their own rejection. Now, can the person take ownership? Yes, they can. They can take ownership. Doesn't mean anything. I'm not codependent. I ain't a martyr. I ain't a superior. I ain't a blamer. I ain't somebody who's going to say, let me tell you what to do with your life. As Patrick Tian points out, people who try to fix people are still trying to fix their home. I don't need to fix my home. My home's fine. I ain't broken. My home ain't broken. We're all different. That's it. So when you're trying to fix someone, I've got plenty of people. I don't need fixing, which is the one reason why I don't talk anymore, because people think that those of us who love more people don't know love and we're traumatized, versus we know how to emotionally regulate, mentally regulate, be a master of myself and not actually have this thing called control. I don't control anything, but I wasn't suppressed when I got angry as a 3-year-old. I'm Maria. I'm leaving because you spanked me. I got to yell, and I'm the one who worked with my tone by the time I'm 16. I was reactive. I'm still reactive. So I'm just saying, my anger didn't get suppressed at all. My Neapolitan family, we yelled, but it's not in sympathetic. It's an actual cultural thing, which is why it's different. And that's how I get to share with you all why there's no suppressed Kali, but instead that anger, if you will, because I call Kali the inner child in me that comes up. Then there's Shiva. It's no thingness, not in an 11-year-old's way of it's no thingness because you're a ghost or a spiteful teenager. No, it's none of your business. So there, come on in, Krishna Lila. And here's my prefrontal with my ventral vagal state. Because it's not personal. No, it's not personal, Maria. No, it's not. You're right. It isn't personal. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. And what I just said did hurt your feelings, but you don't have the capacity to admit it. But I'm ashamed. I'm so sorry, God. I won't do it again, because that's actually a coward's game, to use my words in that way of actually, with intent, trying to hurt your feelings because you just did the same thing to me. It's a very small, petty shit. Like, I swear, anytime, I don't have grown-ups around me that do any of that shit. And if I ever witness it, I don't participate because I actively think nothing. So that's not divine. That ain't a counterpart. That ain't even a higher anything. And when I see those who are mystics doing this shit, again, with their twin flames and soulmates and whatever it is, I'm just thinking, okay, you obviously don't know how to process breakups. Like the one person who I'm going to share their story, they're at a table, we're at a table, I'm trying to talk with them, get them to share, process, friends, my buffoon clown friends come in with the same buffoonery that any of those teenagers do, and then when we leave, I'm like, why'd you change the topic? That's not healthy. We were doing talking. Oh no, they wanted distraction. Distraction ain't gonna help them process what's going on. This same human being, eventually, as I'm going through shit, turn to me and say, I can't have you not be here. I need you to be here and strong for me. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And okay, wow. Same human being, when my cat disappeared, they ended up under a bus. Immediately, that's what came out of their mouth. This human being is, in fact, I'm happy for them, with another human being. So luckily they have their counterpart, and I'll never forget when the counterpart is like, yeah, sometimes I don't like the influence you have. It seems like you have power over her. And I'm like, no, I don't, but you seem to want to be the only one to be able to chime in her ear. So when insecure people are there, each other's like little baby hands, yeah, somebody who's empowered isn't caring to be the babysitter of a person. That's not actually a relationship. That's more like, okay, how's everybody doing today? I'm out of here. Bye. So when people don't know emotional regulation, mental regulation, and they want to bring in drama, they still remind me of my teenage friends. You have no emotions, and that's why the fancy lady in suit, it's dangerous to have no emotions. Some of us have no repressed emotions. It's different. And we know how to use our ventral vagal state, and I can thank the scientists that gave me words to explain to you what I know how to do from my prefrontal. So divine counterpart knows how to do that too, because it's a higher self. They don't need healing, and if they did, they're their own healer and with a good therapist, and therefore self, lover, heart open, the one, and they know what they want as the one. So they're going to know how to make conscious choices, and that's the beauty. You're not second guessing anything, and you're actually having authentic, transparent, open-hearted conversations. You be you, they be them, you be love, they be love, and nobody gets into any kind of pettiness, because really, those poor unfortunate souls, so sad, but true. I really do not like that those who are 40 get to suffer, but they chose that they prefer their pseudo aliveness and their stories of the 144,000 and twin flame and sirens and this and that, and so you leave them to their stories. They won't like people like us, but that's okay, because we will still like them. At the same time, we might not be exchanging much and that's because on YouTube, for sure, I'm not planning on engaging with that community. But I do know what they like to do with each other. They like to dismantle each other. So if we find each other being dismantled on purpose, we know that that's the petty ones. Because the only people who want to dismantle are the same ones who want their castle to be the bigger one of all the world. Do you know what we do with those who actually play this bullshit game? Nothing. Again, we say, God, you're benevolent. I know you gave them a place so that they could feel that they belonged and that they have a place. And I totally get it, because some people can make a difference and others will make a difference by being the fearful ones. And so let us fear. Thank you so much for being on the other end of the spectrum so that people could choose love or fear. And when you meet enlightened ones, they remind you there's a book, Akash, and there's souls. There's one guy. The first page is the love and the last page is fear. And it's like, wow. Well, I'm glad I'm on this end of the stick, which is why you don't say, I got the short end of the stick because I'm a spiritual being. And now that I know that I have an oversoul and a twin flame. Wow. Okay, hold on. First of all, you're insulting the masculine's journey, number one. Number two, maybe you don't understand which end of the stick you got, because I'm going to try and make you aware of the end of the stick you got. You said you're feminine. Oh, no, wait, we have both now. Now, finally, we all know we have both. Okay, you have relationship with spirit, right? Okay, so who do you think suffers life more? You with God in your life and the divine, or the one and only human being, the group who have none of that? Put to the side the distorted human beings as they're having fun with their stories from ancient times. No. Who do you think will have suffered life more than you? It's obviously going to be the masculine, who has no relationship to God, spirit source, which means they have no strength from that which will physically be in their face. Means they have only their flesh to count on, which is what makes them, well, that's why some will think that wine is what blissfulness feels like. I will say no, nothing to do with wine, because wine makes me sick to my stomach. No, blissfulness feels like a safe haven, secure base counterpart. I'm at home because I know that whether you're a man, a woman, or they, you, the divine counterpart, meaning the person who has conscious awareness of self, will always care that I am physically, emotionally, and mentally safe, independently from what we bring to each other, meaning we want each other's happiness, even if that means not being in each other's lives. And that doesn't mean it'll be happy tears that you cry. No, when you find that people find it easy to break up, that's not true. If they care for each other, and also, by the way, if people are actively in a relationship, I find that that's very much a choice that is based on your amygdala. If you're conscious of yourself, you won't make the wrong choice. This is why Gabor Mate states and shares people have a gut that doesn't work well. So as long as you're not your higher self, you won't have a gut that works well, just the way Gabor Mate says. And in fact, when you explain that to people who don't understand, look, unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms means that you're used to not a lover. You're not used to your heart being open. You don't even know what being one in your brain is yet, because you actively have a paused self. What you're going to know is how dysregulated, modulated bodies are in Diego's family. So as long as people who have what, they will not say, you know what, why do I keep dating pieces of shit? You know what, I'm going to go to a good therapist. That's it. Because that's all you need to understand in the year 2025. I've seen it already begin with adolescents. So if anyone's smart enough, then they will be able to give the psych education. You don't go diagnosing people. That's not nice. But you definitely don't mind your own business when there's codependent type behavior, because that's exactly where the difference lies. Every era, every year that we move forward, thanks to education, researchers, scientists, people who learn things about our human makeup, we can help children grow to become self-empowered, which is the most amazing of things ever for an empowered feminine. I love to love and live and learn and laugh and know, as a mother and a father of myself and a star baby with my eternal child, that I, like all the other healthy self-worth people who will not continue to perpetuate trauma in any way, shape, or form, we will not have any orphaned children. If we can make it happen, we will have eternal children. And that is the part of where every person can have that kingdom of God within them. The seed of enlightenment, all the spirituality talk, it's all about people becoming their higher self. And when you hear mystics say, it's not about your child parts, yeah, it is. Get to become whole, get the 9 domains of integration, and it is a process though. It's not something quick. And when people are grown-ups but they're not, and they want a shortcut, well, I mean, the part about not understanding that it's what I think Dr. Dan Siegel said, it takes 6 to 7 weeks for one new neural pathway to be built. Then it's like another whatever weeks for myelin to be laid out, and he's explaining this. I have my courses I need to rewatch, and then at that point, you feel a little wonky. This is why some of the scientists who don't know the thoroughness of what integration of the brain is, it takes time. It's not dangerous. It's not unnatural. Your actual physiology is optimized to be there, because every person, this is the part, God made you from his whatever, however that sentence goes. So we've been made to be able, in fact, science shares, to become and return to that restorative embodied self, which is where your body is taking you. But the left mode by itself is stupid, because it's, I want to understand and I have boxes, and I won't actually allow myself to be flexible because it's reactive. So this is the part, it's not the choice. You don't tell your trauma story, it's sensations. But that's another side note. So again, with ascension energies, what I did notice already, which is why as soon as I was getting attachment trauma informed, I'm like, thank goodness. I knew the 4D was off with a bunch of shit, just because they kept talking about 144,000, excluding all my brothers and sisters. And then they dishonored all of masculines in the story by making them out to be testing. What the fuck? Testing who? Who are you testing? Oh, punishment questions. Keep on being each other's little CIA. That is insulting, to say the least. If you're going to be punishing questions, don't get into a relationship. I got a woman once coming up to me. Okay, I know you're an intuitive. No, that's not how it went. No, I was brought forth the person. In fact, I knew something was up. And as I'm going out, I get, okay, I'm going to show you a picture and I want your assessment. I'm like, look, I'm a mystic. I'm not, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be doing what you're basically trying to ask me to do. But okay, I guess, I'm going to allow myself to, you're here. I'm going to help. So as we're talking, I told him, I said, look, I've been hurt before, so I'm only going to give you 80%. And I said, what? One, you didn't have to tell him that. Now he's thinking, and two, why are you in the relationship in the first place? If you're only going to give them 80% of your trust, I mean, you might as well not be in the relationship. You're already heading into the relationship thinking that you won't be able to trust them. So when people have this, I'm not laughing because it's funny. You're not ready for a relationship. Go get your gut healed. Get into the ones who ignore it completely. Again, why me? Why me? Well, why me? No, it's not why you. It's that child of yours can learn to unlearn, and also the whole programming thing. So some people will use that word again. Anytime you are using your own human journey and you're objectifying it, you're going to get displaced from what your higher self and you and your not core narrative relational solo self integrating that. You're not owning the sense of self, humanly speaking, so you won't overflow with humanity. You are making yourself out to be an object. You're distancing yourself from yourself as a human, and you have created a story, and you are making it sound like you've been programmed, which then brings me to the Matrix, which then brings me to spiritual bypassers, which then brings me to Bill Nye, or Nay, however he's pronounced the last name, as he says. Even if there is the Matrix, you think you're going to find it? And I'm like, yeah, Bill, let's tell him about it. So own your brain, own your mind, own your heart, own your body, own yourself with love. You get your humanity by being the higher self with integrity. You have no vanity, but don't think people won't think you're vain or because you're confident that you are grandiose. No, they will, but you're securely attached and untraumatized. And as you stare them in the eyes, you say, I need to not go anywhere. No, you go places and understand that those who want to be their pause self are not actual diagnosed assholes to me. A person who does know Christ consciousness, they are my brothers and sisters, and their diagnosis of assholishness is the unkind child that was treated like a piece of shit, and they won't take ownership. I don't need to do anything about it because they physically are no threat. And if I need law, then I'll go to law. But that's the part. When you have a good gut, you don't find yourself with unhealthy, self-soothing people because my gut tells me. I'm going to do enough to be saluted is one example of a person who doesn't know healthy boundaries. They're not necessarily dangerous, but they definitely don't know healthy boundaries. And when a good portion of your herd does actually not interact with people, there are reasons. But when a good portion of your herd are like Diego's family and they isolate a person just because that's what they decided, with stories in their mouth, no, that is actively, no one's taking responsibility for being Diego's family. So there's a lot of different in-depth ways that we could look at how people can support each other. And the beautiful part about those who are divine actual counterparts is because they're empowered masculines and empowered feminines that they will know what is of the best interest of the herd, because they're not trying to fix each other. They're not doing each other's emotional work. They're bringing each other's emotional fears and concerns and all of that together. So there's authenticity, transparency, and they are choosing to use those 24 hours. These are the secure attachment figure relationships again. And so for polyamory, we have different types of vessels and groups, and that we've talked about. So moving into, for example, polyfidelity. For some people, it's temporary. For other, it's forever. And the reality is 24 hours. So if you're building a secure attachment figure relationship, you want to be involved in each other's emotional, mental, and physical day-to-day. And there's mathematically 24 hours. So when people want to do something called build, you don't really waste time because you don't have that much of it. And as anybody knows, what is building is because you're persevering consistently over time. Efficiency should always be out of love and care for people around you, not a machine like unconcerned action. Thank you, Sadhguru. When you have those who are insecure, they don't build relationships because they're emotionally, mentally, and physically invested. It's out of habit, some. That's where my facade friend, I could use him as an example. He came back because I was his only friend, but I took him back because I never really didn't consider him my friend. We had a big rupture. He taught me how not to ever stop talking to someone I love because it was ridiculous. Some people think that that means that I allow people to be mean to me, and they're being themselves. They're not mean to me. They're not hurting my feelings. Even if they did hurt my feelings, I can still, it's okay. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm choosing I want to stay friends. So you don't have to be in my business telling me who to love or not to love, because again, it ain't your body. It ain't your heart. It ain't your mind, not your brain, not yourself. Why are you trying to tell me what to do? Differentiated self people allow each other to be who they are. Okay, so nobody's changing anyone's way of being. We get to share who we are and how we are. And that is why when you look at it with personality patterns, attachment, and being flexible to temperament, it's always going to be easy. Okay, if somebody gets angry, that's better than disconnected and detached, but we want them to know how to be masters at presenting that. So not to you. And in fact, when we're upset, that's not the best time to speak about any of serious business. But when you do love, it is not a transaction, but a burning flame within you. Thank you, Sadhguru. And when it burns the core of who you are, it is liberating. So securely attached individuals, okay, we get to actively be in each other's lives consistently because we have that self. That self has that which is also integrity. And I'm trying to find the quote that Sadhguru shared the other day. Integrity is not about the action, but its purpose. The question is, are you doing what you do for the larger well-being or your personal benefit? Okay, so people say, but action does matter. And yes, of course it does, because action will be something that will bring about a result. But the purpose behind it is what will let me know. So integrity, it's not what others say about you, it's how you feel and that you have no shame of you. Okay, so if I treat you with unkindness because you're treating me with unkindness, I will be shame of me because I consciously am aware that I'm doing it. So my purpose is to what? To vindicate what? That's called heartbreak. That's called you're weak. That's called you don't know how to patch yourself. That's how I'm going to bring it to you. Because your heart being broken don't give you the justification to go and have that unkind business. So anytime someone's going to justify their unkindness due to their emotional suffering, they can use all the stories in their book. You're not a counterpart. You're an emotionally mature, insecure human being who will have regret. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, or maybe you'll go to those sides and therefore create your flat earther group and therefore pat each other on the back and create stories for you so you can continue with the shadow and the siren so that there's superheroes and supervillains and you're objectifying the entirety of your life. Because really, at the end of the day, if you identify with, I'm a healer and you're trauma dumping, you ain't no fucking healer, and actively you can't heal the self of another. Because only they can actually get to the lover that they are, open their heart to the one that they are to themselves, God or no God, your brain, your mind, yourself, your body, your heart. There ain't a story. There's actual technical information. And people who don't want it get to be the Zen master who says, but you got laundry. There's no enlightenment. In the meantime, you're trying to point out what he was trying to point out is don't fall for charlatans. He's a charlatan. Because to me, you're telling however many human beings out there that there's no way a person can be in enlightenment consistently. Like when someone's like, you can't always be on. Apparently you all don't know Dr. Daniel Siegel or smart neuroscientists that tell you, yeah, you can. Because it's your fucking body. You just haven't practiced it enough. Or maybe, as Robert Sapolsky points out, you have no free will. So when you present a challenge, which I'm not, even though I have before, you know what I know? I know I do personal development stuff out, Maria. Don't you know that life is always suffering? And you're trying to give me one emotion. That is the exact way any of those who I will mind my own business, God, don't worry. I'm like, wow, okay. Unfortunately, I'm 4'9", so I can't tell you what I think in your face because teenagers wanted to beat me up because all you are is basically a lazy ass coward. And that is where those who say, it's not that simple. Well, guess what? Apparently, our lovely Patrick Tiahan likes to keep parents in accountability. I'm keeping every human being in accountability, not the children, please. The children need the grown-ups. Every other human being out there, but remember, my fear brothers and sisters, I thank them. They do service for those who don't have the capacity to be here right now and then to say, wow, actually, you know what? I want to go get my ventral vagal state. Let's see how long it takes me so that I don't have to die of regret one day and look to the past and say, oh, if only I had known sooner. There are people that I know who talk to me with regret and in ways that are completely, where are you, Eric, from? He has a very good way to explain the reminiscing ones. Oh, but only if I had, if I would, if I did, That's basically La La Land. And you're in your temporal junction and you're using the dark sides of neuroplasticity. So I don't have room for any type of, and I don't want them at IHP, people who want a story in a way of a pat on the back. There's no pat on the back. You can learn to be your higher self, and there's many different ways that I bring it, and no, it's not perfect. And people who like to think that we are snoots or snobs or evil, Knievel, medieval, bring it on. No, don't, because really, a brain that's smart doesn't have shame. That's the whole point. Shame means you would have guilt. It means that I would do something that I don't want to do. Humanly speaking, it's very easy to keep a clear conscience when you have the capacity to know that, yeah, of course I can be vulnerable. But also, any smart human being will know one thing. Your primary caregiver and your primary household are the number one people that will affect you the biggest of the biggest of the biggest of them all, because that's the one place you'll have B0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's no equation. When you hear somebody who wants movies, you know who they are. I'm not a teenager version of Maria. I'm a grown-up version. And when I think of my family, I love my family. I have the plaque called Bossy again. I know exactly what I get to be in my house, and I still work with my tone. So when they actually have things to say to me, I say, yep, and one day I will interview them. That way they can tell you all about my lovely bad manners. No, I try. They know I try. But I do have bad manners sometimes. But I actually do tell them it's reactive. I'm still working on it. And I'm not the worst of the worst of the worst. At least I don't go shaming, blaming, faulting, or avenging. I'm learning how to use my tone, Mom. She watches my content sometimes. So I share my stories again so you can understand our child parts, like my attachment trauma educators taught me. They're always with us. And I know where they are at, but I chose as an adolescent, my 11-year-old, 12, 13, 14. Yes, Jesus. Yes, Holy Spirit. Yes, God. And yes, kindness. I choose. I will stand with myself, and teenagers taught me how not to tell them that they're all cowards, because again, by the time I'm 19, they all became cowards, and then I got to meet more of them. And now I know science, and whenever I hear lack of imagination for evil, I laugh in my butthole. And when I hear those who think there's only 144,000 and every year they come up with something new, no, it's every cycle, and I know where we're at. Again, please, Eric Fromm. But really, the social construction of reality. If any of you like reading, this is a really great one. Sociology, learn about it. So our lovely generation is getting to grow up with new things. Mysticism, there's also empirical mysticism that's going to come about. Science and spirituality coming together in colleges, and consciousness being looked at from our lovely sciences. I don't know all the words, and I talk like I'm a little 5-year-old. Remember that. So yes, imperfect for sure. Have a good full moon when it comes about, and I'm happy for all of those of you who have become that lovely higher self, and we are going to consistently do that physical mastery, because that's what happens. And this is for my listeners, by the way, who did get a bunch of channeled guidance messages throughout the years, so I know that you are mastering that prefrontal cortex. That's awesome. And please do go to YouTube, subscribe if you'd like, so that you can be in the loop on those things. But do know that's where we also will have had some episodes that you will hear. And again, this is for my audio listeners, and also for my audio listeners, if you do go to YouTube, to the community page, we have the link for pre-ordering if you want the book, which is the Path, the Ways to God. Let me find the title. Give me 1 second. Because I forgot it, although it's short. Here it is. The Ways to God, and a Spiritual Mosaic, Discovering God Through Many Perspectives. We have a lovely panel discussion from yesterday. I shared that, and also the pre-order link for the ebook, and then the hard copy and paper copy will be available on the 28th of June, the link to order them. Okay, and that's it. I just wanted to share a little bit about that. So accessing your higher potential. It's really fun to be here with you all and to be excited for what's to come with IHP and everything. Have a great full moon again.